Welcome back to the exciting video. And what we're talking about today is Rolling Stone's complete fill of the top 250 greatest guitarists of all time. That is correct. I said the complete fill. A couple of years ago, I did a video where they did the top songs, and that was a complete fill as well. And I think Rolling Stone has turned more into a political rag to where they're more worried about including everybody to make sure everybody has their little shot. And instead of really putting things on talent, which is what it should be, they're more about inclusion than actually saying, well, you know what? You're good, but you're not good enough. So they stick them on the list anyway. So how good can the list be? Let's be honest. It cannot be that great of a list. And I do know they've put a lot of people on here. I do not know who they are. Never heard of them. And because it's impossible to hear of everybody. And there's a lot of great guitarists that are coming up that I just, I have never heard about and probably will never hear about. But who did they make this list for? This is the conundrum. So let me read something here from what they've put here. From Rolling Stone, this is what they put. Many great guitarists realize their genius as part of a... No, let me back up. Hang on, that's not it. Here it is. In making the list, listen to what I'm getting ready to read here. We tended to value heaviness over tastiness. That makes no sense whatsoever. Feel over polish. So you're saying that if you feel a song and you play a couple of good notes, but you're super sloppy and you play like crap, that's better than polish? Again, makes no sense. Invention over refinement. I can kind of see that a little bit because there's been a lot of great guitar players coming out that are just doing some really, really cool things. But these guitar players are also shockingly refined. So again, another stupid statement to make. Risk takers and originators more over technicians. So you're going to take somebody who played a guitar very poorly for one song, you thought it may be a hit, and you're going to place them above, let's say, John Petrucci. Makes perfect sense. We also tended to give an edge to artists who channeled whatever gifts God gave them into great songs and game-changing albums, not just impressive playings. Okay, right there is the crux. This is a top 250 guitar list, not a top 250 great songs. Just because you write a great song does not make you a great musician, and it sure as hell does not make you a great guitarist. This is the stupidest thing you could possibly have said on a 250 great guitar list, but it gets better. Rolling Stone, with all of their brilliance, and apparently they hire some people that want to try to call themselves journalists, but we all know that that is long gone and a thing of the past. There is no more journalism anywhere anymore. Only our only instrumental criteria is that you had to be a 6-string player. Keep that in mind. A 6-string player. All you bala laka laka lika laka laka, I have no idea what the hell they're put there. Shredders out there. Keep at it. Maybe next time. Again, shredders out there. Keep at it. Maybe next time. When we're thinking about guitar, we think about one thing. People's ability to shred. I don't care if you're shredding to metal, blues, jazz, country, I don't care. If you're a guitar player, your only criteria is the ability to shred. If you are an acoustic guitar player, and you probably write great songs, but if you just like to sit around and play your A, G, D, and E chords and write great songs, that does not make you a great guitar player. I could go on about this, just their intro. I could go on to it about it for 20 more minutes, but we're going to move on. So we're going to jump into this. I'm not going to comment on everybody. A lot of these people I do not know, but I will comment where I deem fit. So I'm going to blow through quite a few of these, but coming in right at the top of the list is Andy Summers. He's coming in at 250, and I do like Andy Summers. Andy Summers is a great guitar player. He changed the sound of the Police, and when they picked up Andy Summers, the Police went from here to hear. But going back to their own words, all you shredders out there, keep at it. Maybe next time. Andy Summers is not a shredder by any stretch of the imagination. He is a good guitar player. I apologize for my dog. He is a very good guitar player, but I don't know if I would include him on my top 250 guitar players. Moving down, Brittany Howard. I really don't know who that is. We're going to move on. She could be great. I have not listened to her music, so I can't comment on that. Rob Krieger from The Doors is coming in at 248. I 100% disagree. Again, Krieger would not make my top 250 list. What The Doors is mostly known for is the singer Jim Morrison, of course, and the music they wrote. At no time ever do I listen to a Doors song and go, damn, dude, Robbie Krieger's just absolutely killing it. Is it Krieger or Krieger? I can't remember. But he's absolutely murdering it. Yeah. Words that have never come out of my mouth and never will. Robbie Krieger would not have made my top list. Ricky Wilson from the B-52s. All right. Had to step away for a minute. So coming in at 247, Ricky Wilson. Ricky Wilson with the B-52s. There again, I've never heard a B-52s song where I'm like, oh my God, the guitar playing was phenomenal. Would not make my 250 list. We have Paul Simon at 246. No way, no how would this guy ever make my top 250 greatest guitar list. It would never happen, not in this lifetime or not in a Rolling Stone alternate lifetime. Now, granted, Rolling Stone, who is not musicians, who's a bunch of journalists, and like I said, there is no more journalism, has apparently felt a reason to put Paul Simon on this list. Now, I can tell you now, they put Paul Simon on this list because of the songs he has written. Writing a good song does not constitute you being a great guitar player. Another fail, would not make my 250. Leslie West at 245. I'll give him that. You know what? I'll give him that. I'm going to move on. And I'm just going to comment on the people I know who they are. Adelio Paredes. Have no idea who that is, but he is holding a classical, and he appears to be holding it correctly. So I'm going to let him slide and say, okay, you belong. So we got Keith Urban at 241. Now, I would expect Keith Urban, if you're going to put him on this list, and I'm just going to say, I would think he'd maybe a little bit higher, because Keith Urban's actually a badass on a guitar, dude. This guy can absolutely freaking well. Keith Urban is a country shredder. According to Rolling Stone's own words, shredder. He is a country shredder. This guy can freaking flat tear a 6-string guitar up. So if I was doing this list, I would think 241 is a touch low on that. Jennifer Batten came in at 237. She's a shredder. I will say she can have a spot on the 250 if I were doing the list. I don't know where I would put her at, to be honest with you, because she doesn't have a great body of work out there. But Jennifer Batten can play. Let's be honest, man. The chick can cut. And I can tell you now, and I don't know who this person is, but I'm going to tell you right now, Jennifer Batten, I guarantee you, is a hell of a lot better guitar player than Lindsey Jordan. Bet my life on it. Bet my life on it. And Jennifer Batten is just a couple of spots ahead of her. So moving on down, Laura Marling. I've never heard of this person whatsoever. She is a subtle kind of virtuoso, enjoying complex tunings and voicings within her music that sound far simpler than they really are. I'm going to leave it at that. Her, H.E.R. She is at 233. I know who she is. I've heard a little bit of her music. But there again, I don't know. I don't know. I'm going to leave her at 233, to be honest with you, because I know she does play guitar. I wouldn't call her a shredder. I don't think she's much of a wailer, but she does solo. And so we're going to let that one slide. We're going to let that one go on. David Williams, don't know who that is. 80s pop, intentional rhythmic subjects, Billie Jean, Stevie Nicks, Stand Back, Diana Ross, Vietnam veteran, also toured with Jackson and Madonna. And okay, I got to be honest, I wouldn't be able to pick him out by himself, but he's got a pretty damn impressive resume of the people he's played with. So we're just going to let him right in at 232. Etta Baker, I know who Etta Baker is actually. And we're just going to let that one go, 231. And I'm going to move through to comment on people that, like I said, I wanted to hit the first few to kind of give you an idea of how this is going, and then we're going to move through to where we think people should or should not be. Okay, coming in at 219, we have Glenn Tipton and KK Downing, the guitar duo for Judas Priest. These guys are absolutely monster shredders. Do they belong on the list? Yes. But I think I would split them up. You can't take two guitar players and put them and give them the one credit. It doesn't really kind of work that way, because even though you have two guitar players, undoubtedly one's better than the other. Their skill set cannot be exactly the same. But both of these guys are actually really good shredders, and they deserve their own. You know, give them like 219 and 218 or 219 and 220. Don't group them together. I think that's kind of stupid, and I think that's kind of a cop-out from them. Lizzie Hell, she's at 218. And now let me be the first to tell you, I do love Lizzie Hell. Chick can sing. My God, can this chick sing, dude. She can absolutely well. Putting her on the 250 list, I'm okay with that. I don't know if I would really call her a shredder, but she's high enough up to where I think it's pretty good. But now if this was a vocalist list, oh, she'd be in my top 50 easily. Easily. At 217, we got Thomas McClary, and he was the guitar player for the Commodores, or the Commodores, whichever you want to call it. And there again, now the Commodores wrote a tremendous amount of great music. Tremendous amount. Great songwriters. Now, in their own right, they're great musicians. They're better musicians as a whole, like a lot of bands are. You know, the bands break up, they go off on their own. It's never quite the same. They're better musicians as a whole, as opposed to an individual. But there's not a single Commodore song I've ever listened to and went, dude, that guy just drilled it on the guitar. So would not even make my top list. Steve Hackett, oh my God, he would not even be in my top 250. Would not even be in my top 250. I don't know why they put him in there. At 212, they got Jose Feliciano. You know what? I would probably, I think I would go with that one, with Jose Feliciano. The guy can actually play guitar. He's actually pretty good. And throwing the fact that he's blind, I think he's blind. Isn't he blind? Belts out during the holiday season, blah, blah, blah. Born blind, yeah. Feliciano became an acoustic guitar virtuoso in his teens. The guy can let it go, man. He's, I agree with that. Putting him in the list, I agree with that. Now, where they're at in the list, I'm not going to say unless I have something a little more definitive, but I can see putting Jose Feliciano into the top 250. I can absolutely see that. Nick Zinner from the Yeah Yeah Yeahs, yeah, that would be a no. I would not put him, he wouldn't be in my top 250. Gary Clark Jr., all right, yeah, I'm down. Yeah, this guy's, this guy can well. Yeah, they got him sitting at 209, and I agree with that. I think that's pretty good. Let's see. We got Hugh McCracken at 206. Do I know who Hugh McCracken is? East Coast guitarist Hugh McCracken was never a showy soloist, but left behind a tasteful mark on countless classics. That has piercing lead on Steely Dan's Hey 19. Okay, well, right there says enough. If he played for Steely Dan, this guy's a monster guitar player. You have to be at the top of your game to get into bands like Steely Dan. Hell, to play for Alice Cooper, you know, because these guys don't have per se bands, you know, they're kind of like revolving doors of musicians. But in order to play for Steely Dan, you better have your chops pretty tight or you're not playing for Steely Dan. So I'm going to go ahead and let that one roll there at 206. Here we go. Eric Johnson at 205. That means they thought 204 people were better than Eric Johnson. And I'm just going to tell you right now, this is a travesty. This is stupid. To put him in the top, and from the 200 to 250 is absolutely pathetic, ridiculous, stupid, and obviously you have no idea what you're talking about, or you simply don't know who Eric Johnson is. So to have him at 205, that means what they've got in front of him is a tremendous amount of garbage. I can already tell you that now. Okay, we got Vince Gill at 202, and what do they got here? It's almost unfair as a pure vocalist. Vince Gill is rightly celebrated as one country. That's true, man. Vince Gill can sing. My God, this guy can sing. But make no bones about it, dude. Vince Gill can well on a guitar, man. This guy can absolutely freaking cut. So honestly, I would probably put him a little higher than 202, to be honest with you. I don't think I'd have him that far back. Gary Diaperman Scheider. Parliament Funkadelic guitarist Gary Scheider replied, God loves babies and fools. Well, no, I guess I could agree with that. Got to be honest, I really don't listen to the music, so I really can't comment on him. I do know who he is, but I do not listen to his music, so I'm just going to have to move on from there. So moving on to the next round. 199, they got Bombino. Never heard of him. He's from Niger, who specializes in what many have termed desert blues. I do not know anything about him, so I cannot comment. So we're just going to tuck him in right there. That would be a negative, Rolling Stone. I do not want you to send me anything. Jerry Reed at 198. Now, let's make no bones about this. Jerry Reed is actually a hell of a guitar player. You know, Jerry Reed, Roy Clark, and Glenn Campbell, man, those guys were, dude, they were pickers. They were pickers. And just because you shred, that does not mean you have to shred on electric. These guys were shredding on an acoustic, and they were shredding. And one of the most impressive, I can't remember the song that was being played, but it was Roy Clark was standing, I guess it was at the Grand Canyon, you know, and the sun was setting behind him, and they had everything mic'd up, and he's on an acoustic, dude, and he was just smoking it on that acoustic. I will never forget that, man, because he was just burning that acoustic up, and it was highly impressive. So I'm kind of curious to see where they've got him on, but they got Jerry Reed at 198. I'm not going to argue with that. Jerry Reed is a staple, and the guy can play the hell out of a guitar. Okay, we got Nuno Betancourt at 197. I disagree whatsoever on everything about this at 197. For the love of God, who is in their top 50? This guy should easily be top 50. It's Nuno Betancourt. And even though he doesn't get the accolades of, say, a Zakk Wylde, who's not on the list, and Eddie Van Halen, people like, oh, somebody else that's not on the list is Yngwie. Yngwie Malmsteen is not on the list of the greatest 250 guitar players ever. Whatever, Rolling Stone. So they got him at 197. I completely disagree with that because Nuno is absolutely a shredder, monster, a tactician on the fretboard. And they got him at 197. So I'm almost afraid to see who's at 196, who they think is better than Nuno. James Taylor. They've got James Taylor at 196, one place ahead of Nuno Betancourt. Now, if you're a guitar player, let's be honest, how many James Taylor songs have you heard and you go, oh my God, that is some of the greatest guitar work I've ever heard? You have never said that a day in your life. You may not have ever said that about Nuno Betancourt, but I guarantee you when you've heard this guy well, you're like, this guy's not too damn shabby. Because Nuno can freaking kick. He can cut. James Taylor wouldn't even make my top 250. Wouldn't even be my top 250. Let's see. Moving down, Brian Robertson and Scott Gorham from Thin Lizzy. Man, they wrote some iconic riffs, I got to admit, but I don't know if they would be on my top 250 all-time great guitar players. They just simply would not. I would have to... No, I couldn't do it. I could not do it. Lita Ford, 192. Now, love Lita or hate Lita, she is still Lita. And Lita's she's penned a couple of good tunes. And, had her heyday back in the late 80s where she was really doing some pretty cool music, especially with her and Ozzy. But would Lita Ford be on my top 250 list? Absolutely not. Not even close. I don't know if Lita would make my top 500 if I could possibly make a top 500 list. I do not think Lita Ford would be on there. And 190, Lightning Hopkins. Now, this is pretty cool. Born in 1912, Samuel John Hopkins was a 32-year-old alumni of Texas penal system before adopting the sobriquet Lightning. Okay, I'm good with that. I'm good with that. 190. Man, those old blues guys, dude, they were dangerous on the guitar, man. They were dangerous. At 189, we got Jerry Cantrell, and I'm actually good with this. There again, what I was talking about earlier, as a whole, the band's better than the separate pieces. So I'm going to say 189 for Jerry Cantrell. I would not move him up further than that. So to speed this up, I'm going to start commenting on just specific players. 186, Steve Lukather. This is absolutely stupid. He should be a top 50 guitar player. He is Steve Lukather. And what you may or may not know is Steve Lukather, I think he played on every single song maybe of Michael Jackson's Thriller. And a lot of that really serious, cool, funky guitar tone sounds you hear going on there, that is Steve Lukather. He is a beast. He was a sessions player. And I'm going to tell you right now, if you're going to be a sessions player, you better have your crap wired tight, because you got to be able to play anything at any point at any time. That is a shredder to me. That is a guitarist, not this stuff they got. Moving on down the list, we are going to Roy Buchanan, 183. All right, I'm good with that. I will let that one go. Hang on here. Come on. My computer is being stupid. Larissa Strickland at 181. I've never heard of her. I don't know. I can tell you right now, and I will bet my life on it, she's not better than Steve Lukather or Nuno Betancourt. I'll bet you anything in the world. But she's ranked higher than both of them. Mike Campbell, there again, I don't know if he'd make my list, man. He was the guitar player for Tom Petty. I don't even think he'd make my 250. I just don't see him on there whatsoever. We got Sadie Dupuis, don't know who that is. She's at 176, and you can see the picture over here, so obviously she's better than Nuno Betancourt will ever be, and obviously better than Lukather and Eric Johnson. Now, I doubt that, but according to Rolling Stones, she's better. Rory Gallagher. Okay, Roy Gallagher. Now, I'm going to leave him at 175. It is Rory Gallagher. I mean, the guy he is a monster guitar player. If you don't know who he is, you might want to check some of his stuff out. So I'm good with that. I'm going to leave that right there. And okay, here we go. You remember what I said earlier? Oh, the only qualification was it had to be 6 strings. Well, guess who's at 173? That is correct. The Beatle man himself, Paul McCartney, the bass player, is at 173. Now, I didn't read this to see what's going on, but we're going to read this. Paul McCartney is a legend for so many things. Songwriter, singer, bassist, Beatle. It's easy to overlook his 6-string virtuosity. But Macca played so many of the Fab's greatest guitar solos, the psychedelic flash of the Taxman, Sgt. Pepper, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, I've never heard a great Beatles guitar solo. Never once have I heard a great, I mean, they're good solos. They're not great. They're not, I mean, I love the Beatles, but I don't hear those solos like when while my guitar gently weeps, which is a few notes, and go, oh my God, did Eddie Van Halen play that? No. Yeah, Paul McCartney, as a guitarist, would not even make my list. None whatsoever. Chrissie Hynde, she's at 172. We all know she's better than Nuno Betancourt. Nuno Betancourt. Don't get me wrong, I do love Chrissie Hynde. I do love her band. I thought they were fantastic. I really got into the Pretenders. We actually do brass and pocket in my band, but she's not even a guitarist. I don't even know why she's on the list, and she's sitting at 172. Johnny Winter at 166. I think he needs to be back on the other side of 200. He does not need to be at 166, because I can sit here and name 10, 12 guitar players that are ranked higher than him that are much better than him. But back in the 70s, dude, Johnny Winter was, he was kind of the man, you know, albino and his white hair, but they did some pretty good music back there. So I'm not going to absolutely knock it and say no whatsoever. But moving on down, we got 164, Dave Davies. Yeah, I wouldn't even put Dave Davies in my top 250. There again, he wrote some very catchy songs, some very good songs, but I don't think it's anything that would be like, oh my God, you know, he's one of the greatest guitarists in the world. Now here at 161, we have Tim Henson. He's one of these new bloods that are coming about, and this guy's pretty insane. He's that's all I can say is this guy's pretty insane. He's got a very unique style to his playing, and the dude can well. So I agree with that 100%. Actually, if we're going on technical proficiency, because here again, you know, they look at, you know, guitar, music, this, that, the other. Because I got to be honest, I've never really heard their music, and I've heard Tim Henson play. The one song I've heard, I wasn't that impressed by musically as far as composition. I'm not saying it wasn't good and the musicianship wasn't good. I personally just don't like the song. That's why they make Vanilla Ice Cream. Not everybody likes chocolate. But Tim Henson, dude, he's a beast. Actually, I would probably have moved him up a little bit on the list than where he's at right now. John Lennon at 159 would not make my top 250. He's just an acoustic guy that happened to write a bunch of good songs. Pat Metheny, 157. Are you joking me? Are you absolutely joking me? He is a top 50 by far. Carl Perkins, they got him at 156. I'll leave that alone. Carl Perkins, he can absolutely shred. We got Yvette Young. Apparently, here's the picture of Yvette Young. So according to Rolling Stones, Yvette Young is better than Carl Perkins, Pat Metheny, or Metheny, however you want to pronounce it, Nuno Betancourt, Lukather. Amazing. This girl is better than all of them. And I will say right now, she is not. I will guarantee you she's not. At 153, Otis Rush, I will leave that one alone. I'd probably move him up a little bit, but I will go with that. Andy DeFranco, 152, would not even make my list whatsoever. All right, so let's blast through these next ones because I don't want this to get insanely long. It's like it's already getting. Stephen Stills at 140 would not make my top 250. Susan Tedeschi, I've heard of her, but I got to be honest, I have not listened to her music, so I cannot comment on that. They've got her at 139, and that just may be where she belongs, is at 139. Very simple. So I can't really comment on that. Joe Perry at 136. I think Joe Perry should be a little higher. I do not consider him a shredder by any stretch of the imagination, but he's a damn good guitar player. I would probably move him up a little bit more. Roger McQuinn would not even make my top 250. Rob Mould, I don't know who that is. Robert Cray, 133. I'd probably leave him at 133. I've heard some of his music, and he's a hell of a damn guitar player, but I'm not really sure. I would have to listen to more of his music before I could say this is definitely where he belongs. Niles Lofgren, they've got him at 132, and I'm just going to say, okay, leave him there. There again, I would have to research him a little more before I really get into that. At 131, they have Dimebag Darrell, who's definitely a top 100, if not a top 50. They got him at 131. So I've already named probably 15 or 20 people that they say are better than Dimebag Darrell. And I can assure you they are not better than Dimebag Darrell. This is an absolute travesty. This thing's just getting more ridiculous the further I go down. Joe Walsh, 130. He would be above 200. Great player, but not a shredder. And I can tell you right now, Joe Walsh on a guitar is not Dimebag Darrell or Eric Johnson or Steve Lukather. Not even close. But he's what, 100 ranked higher than Steve Lukather? Are you kidding me? This list is an absolute joke. Nita Strauss at 129. I'm going to go with that, and I'm going to leave her at 129. I do love Nita Strauss. I do think she made a mistake by leaving Alice Cooper's band and going and touring with, what's that girl's name? Demi Lovato. We have shredder god, well, that may be a little strong term, Nita Strauss, who, if you haven't heard her solo stuff, dude, this chick can well. She can freaking well. Playing guitar for Demi Lovato. Yeah, they've made one album. That's about all I suspect that's going to last, to be honest with you. You're a shredder. Let's get off the bubblegum, poppy, goofy-ass music. Go back to doing what you do, girl. Tear that damn guitar apart. She's a shredder. Steve Vai is at 127, a top 20 guitar player, and they've got him at 127. God only knows what they have in the top 20. Steve Vai is easily in the top 20. So this begs to differ. Where the hell have they got Joe Satriani? Kim Thayil, 126. I would leave him at 126. I think that's a good place for him. Mike McCready and Stone Gossard, they got them at 124. I think I would actually I'm going to leave them there because I would probably move them up, if anything. Steve Howe, 123. Easily a top 100 guitar player. Their list is just absolutely insane. I don't know how they put this thing together. Warren Haynes, 120 from the Allman Brothers. I would probably move him there, and actually I'd probably move him down a little bit. Dude, that guy's a freaking, he can root on that damn guitar, man. Albert Collins at 117. I'm going to say yay. That's a good one. And I would just leave him there at the 117 mark. Alan Collins and Gary Rossington, and of course the guitar players from Lynyrd Skynyrd. I would probably push them down into the top 100. They got them sitting at 113. I would definitely move them down from there. Lindsey Buckingham, he's at 110, would not even make my top 250 list. I think of him as a singer, guitar player, singer-songwriter type of guy. I do not think of him as a guitarist whatsoever. Merle Travis at 108, easily a top 100. He's Merle Travis. If you've never heard this guy play on a guitar, listen to some of his music. I would say listen to some of his older music, but it's all older music. Dude, Merle Travis can flat out cut, man. Let's see. Don't know who that is. I'm just going to pass them up. Slash 105. They got Slash at 105. Slash is such a icon guitar player and heralded as one of the greats for his... Slash has a very bizarre style. If you listen to how he plays, it's not like typical shred. Granted, yeah, a lot of it's kind of a blues-based, shreddy type of playing, but it's very bizarre how he plays. It's, I don't know. I can't really explain it, but he's got a very peculiar style, the way that Slash plays. Now, dude, Slash, easily a top 50 guitar player. Easily top 50. And they've got him sitting at 105, which is absolutely amazing. Nancy Wilson, they got her at 103. You know what? I am super happy they got Nancy Wilson on this list. I don't know if I'd have her at 103, to be honest with you. I think she'd probably be over my 200 mark. But Nancy Wilson is a beast. And, you know, she's not a shredder in this aspect. But, dude, she can wear a damn acoustic guitar out. I mean, wear an acoustic guitar out. And the intro to Crazy on You, absolutely insane. Absolutely insane. Love her. Billy Gibbons, 102. That is a sin. He should be a top 100 guitar player. John Fogerty, 101. You know, and I'm okay with that. Kerry King at 100. Well, he's in the top 100. That's exactly where I would put him. Tosin Abasi. Now, did you read what they were saying? They're taking innovation, people who step outside the box, you know, and blah, 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 blah. And their very words put Tosin Abasi at 99. Just from their criteria alone, he should have been in their top 5, going by their criteria. So it just goes to show you they have no idea what they're talking about, because he literally is the embodiment of everything they said they were looking for in guitar players, and yet they drop him in at 99. Absolutely insane. Rolling Stone has no idea what they're talking about, but of course, they normally do not know what they're talking about. Got Mark Knopfler at 96. I'm good with that, with putting Mark in the top 100. Mark Knopfler is a beast of a guitar player. He's in the top 100, so I'm good. If they'd had him on the other side of 100, then I'd have said, you know what? They're idiots, but they do have him in the right place. But apparently, Mary Timony, who I do not know, but apparently they're saying she's better than Mark Knopfler. And I'm going to tell you now, I disagree. I don't even have to hear her music to tell her, to let you know she's not better than Mark Knopfler. I don't even have to hear it. Joe Satriani, number 4, easily a top 20 guitar player. Joe Satriani taught half of the guys in the 80s how to play guitar. He was the man. If you're taking guitar lessons in the 80s, you're calling Joe Satriani if you live in that area, because Joe Satriani is the man. And yet they've got him at 94. So I guess he's good. He's just not really that good of a guitar player. He's okay. He's okay, because apparently he's on par with Mary Timony. So let's blast through this. Wada, never heard of her. Day in my life, she could be great. I do not know. She is playing a green Les Paul. She does have some orange amps behind her, so I'll give her credit. Chick might be out there just killing it. Might be killing it. Lou Reed, an 89, would not make my top 250. Kurt Cobain would not make my top 500. He's not a shredder. He's barely a guitar player. He pounded around on some chords. He did write some good music. Now, personally, out of all the grunge, Nirvana's at my bottom of the list. I think, Pearl Jam, Stone Temple Pilots, I think those guys were way better than Nirvana. Nirvana just happened to be the one to write the catchier tunes at the time. But the album 10, that's the album that changed the face of music. It wasn't Nirvana's. Nirvana. It was the album 10 by Pearl Jam that changed the sound of music. That album was phenomenal with some pretty tasty guitar work on it. I don't know of any tasty guitar work on any song that Kurt Cobain has played. None. Wouldn't even make my top 250. Poison Ivy, never heard of her, but apparently they think she's better than Joe Satriani, and I'm going to tell you right now, she's not close. She's not Joe Satriani's pinky, but they think she's better than Joe Satriani, so they've got her coming in at number 87. Larry Carlton at 85, easily a top 50 guitar player. Larry Carlton is a beast. Absolute freaking beast. Muddy Waters, 84. I would leave him there. I have heard some of his music. He is a monster. Or actually, I'd probably move him up closer to 50. It's Muddy Waters, for crying out loud. Adrian Smith and Dave Murray at 83. I think this is stupid that they've got these guys in here as duos. This is absolutely stupid. This is one of my favorite bands ever, Iron Maiden. They should have given these guys their own accolades. And these guys should be, I'm going to say, around 50. They should be around 50. Both of them, maybe 49 and 50, and not have been totally happy where they put these. At 83, that's an absolute travesty. They should not have done that. Wes Montgomery at 82. Easily a top 50 guitar player. Oh my God, what is their criteria? I mean, this is ridiculous. Wes Montgomery at 82. This is beyond insane. So obviously they're not looking for just sheer talent. They're not looking for feeling like they said they were. Dude, have you listened to Wes Montgomery's guitar playing? That's like saying Beethoven couldn't write with feeling. Give me a break. This is the stupidest list in the world. This list is so wrong, it's not even funny. Derek Trucks at 80, easily a top 50 guitar player. Ernie Isley, actually, I'd have sent him the other way. They got him in the top 100. I'd have probably pushed him back over 100, to be honest with you. Charlie Christian, I don't know. I can't count. I think 78 might have been fair. Willie Nelson, absolutely not. He's over the 200 mark. They got him at 77. That is a travesty. Joan Jett. They are saying Joan Jett is better than Steve Vai, Joe Satriani, / didn't even put Zakk Wylde and Gary Moore on the list, or Yngwie Malmsteen, and they're saying Joan Jett is better than all of them. Are you kidding me? This is the worst guitar list in the world. I'm sorry this has turned out to be just a complaining section, but that's all this is. This is a joke. I love Joan Jett. Love her. Wouldn't even be in the top 250. Richie Blackmore, 75. I'll go with that. I do like Richie Blackmore. Wrote some iconic music, man. Some iconic music. So we'll leave him at 75. Pretty cool with that. John McLaughlin at 72, easily a top 50, top 25 guitar player. And they got him at 72. Django Reinhardt at number 70. If we're doing all guitarists from all genres and all eras, wouldn't Django probably be in the top 10? You would think so. You would think so. Somebody else I haven't seen in here, because we're talking to is what's that? I didn't even pay attention if Segovia was in here. I don't think Segovia is in here. And Segovia is to classical guitar what Beethoven was to classical piano. It's like that is literally like doing the top 250 piano players of all time and not putting Beethoven in it. I mean, you would just be an absolute idiot. Number 68, Les Paul. You know what? I'm good with that. I'm good with that. I will go with 68 on Les Paul. That one does not. I think that's a good one. Ry Cooder, 66. All right. T-Bone Walker, 65. I'm down with that. Peter Green at 62. I would probably move Peter Green back a ways, because the biggest thing, let's be honest, the biggest thing about Peter Green is his damn Les Paul. Let's be honest. That's the most infamy Peter Green's ever going to have, is that damn Les Paul guitar. John Mayer, 61. John Mayer can jam. I'm going to say 61. I'm going to say that. I don't know if I'd put him in the top 50, because I can name 50 guitar players that are badass. But John Mayer, dude, he can well. I'm not a big John Mayer fan, to be honest with you, but the guy can cut. He can absolutely cut. Robert Fripp, easily a top 50 guitar player. Oh, they do have Alex Lifeson. I was getting worried. 58. Okay, finally. Now, to me, he's a top 25. Easily a top 25 guitar player. Nobody sounded like Lifeson. Nobody. One guitar player made all that sound for a band that only had 3 guys. His playing is, besides the virtuoso-ness of his playing, the chaotic guitar solos. You never, because you can hear a guitar solo and you can see, you can hear, you can feel where it's going. Dude, not with Lifeson. He will take a left turn on you and you're like, oh, shit, I didn't see that coming. Kind of like David Bowie. When David Bowie would write music, he would write the most obscure passages that would work for nobody else but David Bowie. He was brilliant at doing that. The same as Alex Lifeson. Easily a top 25 guitar player. No doubt about it. Johnny Marr, 56. No, I think that's a little too low for him. Mick Taylor, 55. That is way too low for him. They need to move him up. Bonnie Raitt. I do love Bonnie Raitt. I would probably put her over 100. Bonnie can kill, but she's just not. There's better guitar players, which is kind of hard to say because Bonnie Raitt's actually a badass. Trey Anastasio, easily a top 50. They got him at 53. Easily a top 50, if not a top 25. John Lee Hooker, they got him at 52. I'm going to go with that just for the sake of argument. I don't know where, honestly, I don't know how I would rank John Lee Hooker. I do not know. So I'm going to go with that. So now we're breaking into the top 50 here. Okay, at number 50, they have James Elmore. I got to be honest, I really don't listen to his music, so I can't really tell you anything about it. So we're just going to have to pass that up. PJ Harvey, I do not know who she is, but I can tell you now she's not better than Joe Satriani or Steve Vai or any of the other 100 guitar players I listed that are behind her. She's not better than any of them. Never even heard her music, but I can already tell you that's like me walking across the street to my neighbor and saying, you know what, you're a guitar player, but I bet you're not better than Joe Satriani, and he's gonna say, I bet you're right. Same thing here. I don't know who PJ Harvey is. She could be a great guitarist. She could write fantastic music. She's not better than Satriani, but she's ranked much higher than Satriani. At 48, Curtis Mayfield. 47, The Edge would not even make my top 250. Not a shredder at all. Take away his delay. He's just a guy that plays some pretty cool chords. I'm sorry. He wouldn't even be in my top 250. Frank Zappa, very good. They got it. Steve Cropper. Johnny Ramone would not be in my top 50 whatsoever. Johnny Greenwood and Ed O'Brien. I don't know, man. No, they wouldn't be in my top 50. They would not be in my top 50. Vernon Reid, absolute beast. Definitely top 50 guitar player. 42, I'm good with that. Bo Diddley, he would be closer to 200 in my list than he is closer to number 1. John Fahey, I got to be honest, don't really listen to his music. I'm going to have to skip on that one. Chet Atkins, 39. Are you kidding me? Chet Atkins. I heard this guy play 2 songs at the same time on one guitar. Chet Atkins. This guy's easily a top 10. We're talking greatest of all time. Easily a top 10 player. And I know they've got somebody in here that they're going to say, well, let's see who they say is better than Chet Atkins. Because we're talking on a skill level, we're talking Eddie Van Halen, Randy Rhoads, Chet Atkins. Different types. But we're talking a skill level, proficiency, Chet Atkins is the man. Angus Young and Malcolm Young. I do love Angus Young. I do love their music. He's not, he's a great rock player. He'd probably closer to 100. He's not better than Chet Atkins. I bet my life on it he's not better than Chet Atkins. Pete Townsend, probably be more closer to 200. He's at 37. Elizabeth Cotton, don't know who that is. Eric Clapton, number 35. The most overrated guitar player ever. You would have to put him in the 250 list because he's Eric Clapton. He's been around for, 75,000 years. But he would be closer. Eric Clapton on my list would be over 200. Now, it's not because I have a dislike for Eric Clapton. I think he's crazily overrated. Not a shredder by any stretch of the imagination. Not even close. Not an innovator by any stretch of the imagination. If you want to talk blues, not even close to Gary Moore. Not close to Stevie Ray Vaughan. Not close to Jimi Hendrix. He would be over 200 in my book. Jerry Garcia wouldn't even be in my top 200 list whatsoever. Brian May, easily a top 10 guitar player. They've got him at 33. So it kind of makes you wonder exactly what are they doing? What are they thinking when they're writing this list? Because they're wrong on almost every on every one. They're not even close. So I would like to sit and talk to these boneheads at Rolling Stone and ask them, first off, are you a musician? They're going to say no. Second off, what is your criteria? Because even the criteria you stated doesn't even apply to half these people on here. So I think these are just diversity picks. Let's pick a little bit of somebody from everybody and try to make everybody happy. I think that's actually what's going on here. They've gone so political, they have forgotten about music. Number 32, Jack White, would not even be in my top 250 at all. At all. This guy does nothing amazing on a guitar, ever. He came out, there again, wrote some right music at the right time, got a little bit of notoriety. You know, Jack White's not huge. And if you say he's huge, you're wrong. He's not huge. You know, Heart in the late 80s, early 90s was huge. Prince was huge. Michael Jackson was huge. The Rolling Stones, still huge. Jack White was never huge. In my opinion, he's a very mediocre guitarist that just got lucky and wrote some good songs. George Harrison, he would be closer to 200 in mine. Neil Young, he would be probably not even in my list, to be honest with you. I listened to a lot of Neil Young over the years. And there again, there's just nothing there I hear that just makes me think, man, that this guy just murdered it on the guitar. He wouldn't even make it into my list. David Gilmour, number 28, top 5 guitar player. Bar none, top 5 guitar player. What are you thinking, Rolling Stone? Well, no, the problem is you're not thinking. You want innovation, people stepping outside of the box. Who more does that than David Gilmour? He changed the sound of guitar back in the 60s. He changed the entire course of Pink Floyd, which made them one of the biggest bands in the world. Not in America, in the world. If I'm not mistaken, Dark Side of the Moon is still on the best-selling albums list of all time. Still, 500 years later, still on the list. Rolling Stone, they have no idea what they're talking about. And we're going to go through these. Let's see what we got. Buddy Guy, 27, negative. He would be over 100. St. Vincent, not top 20, not 26. I can tell you that now. Can play. Has their own guitar named after him. But they would be on the other side of 100. I'm sorry. John Frusciante, nope, on the other side of 100. I can name 1,000 guitar players better than him. Now, don't get me wrong, I like Frusciante. I do like him, and he is very, very good, and I'm not knocking him whatsoever. But going by the line they said, all you shreddy people out there, maybe next year. We're going by what they said, not a shredder. But he did write some damn good music, and he does put some tasty stuff out there. James Burton, I don't think I would put him in 24. He's not a top 50 kind of guy. I would back him up quite a bit. And actually, I'd probably back him up to 100. James Hetfield and Kurt Hammett at 23. This is stupid. The duet thing is absolutely dumber than hell. They need to get rid of this altogether. Separate these guys out. Give them 23 and 24. I'd put Kurt Hammett a lot higher than James Hetfield, of course. But, you know, if we were doing this on downstroke ability, James Hetfield would be number 1. Let's be honest. But there again, they got Kurt Hammett way ahead of Joe Satriani, and Joe Satriani taught Kurt Hammett. Very, very strange. So I guess in this scenario, Kurt Hammett is Luke Skywalker, and Joe Satriani would be Obi-Wan Kenobi, to where the student surpasses the master. But in this case, the student did not surpass the master. I think Satriani is still a better guitar player than Kurt Hammett. So that just kind of goes to show you how they put this list together. They're actually putting the students of the guy higher ranked than the guy who taught them. Absolutely insane. Albert King, 22. No way. Not even in the top 50. Randy Rhoads, 21. Are you kidding me? A number 1 guitar player, period. This guy sent out 2 albums. 2 albums. And they still do tributes to him today. There are very few guitar players that touched as many young guitarists, such as myself, as Randy Rhoads. And I'm talking, dude, a handful. Randy Rhoads, Eddie Van Halen, Brian May, as we were growing up back in the day where guitar was it. Very few people touched anybody. And the funny thing about this is just, oh my God, going by their own statistics, Randy Rhoads should be number one. Going by what they said they were looking for. If you listen to Quiet Riot's music, while he was, because, he was kind of doing a duo thing with Ozzy when all this first started in Quiet Riot. If you listen to Quiet Riot's music, you're going to think, okay, yeah. And then listen at the same time what he's writing for Ozzy. Unbelievable. All it took was taking this amazing guitarist, changing his environment, and all that brilliant, unparalleled music came out of this kid back then. Blizzard of Oz, Diary of a Madman, two of the greatest rock albums ever written, bar none. Randy Rhoads is a top 5, 21, a travesty. Rolling Stone, you fell big time. Stevie Ray Vaughan, 20, top 10, if not top 5. Give me a break. Freddie King, he needs to be back on the other side of 50, my personal opinion. I just think there's better guitar players. Tom Morello, again, on the other side of 50. He makes some, they do some cool stuff. He makes some great sounds. The guy can play. Do not get me wrong. But when I start thinking of just the purist, he's not what, when anybody, and I don't give a shit, go to any of your people and say, hey, man, let's talk about great guitar players. Nobody's going to say Tom Morello. Not one person. Guaranteed. Not knocking him at all. Going by their qualifications on their list, Tom Morello, in my opinion, would be over 100. Mother Maybelle Carter, no, she is, but I do not listen to her music, so I'm not even going to comment on that. Robert Johnson, 16. The guy sold his soul to the devil. You know what? I'd have probably put him a little higher just to make sure the devil didn't come after me for offending him. I'd probably stuck him at 9. So we'll leave that at that. Keith Richards, 15. Absolutely not. Would not be in my top 200. There again, wrote a lot of music. But there's nothing I hear that the Rolling Stones play where I go, that is some of the best guitar work I've ever heard in my life. Nothing. Ever. And I've heard a lot of Rolling Stone music. Prince, 14. This is a tough one, dude. I think I could squeak Prince into the top 10. I really do. Prince is, dude, not only can this guy shred, this guy fits the bill of everything they're asking for. Innovative, stepped outside the box, can shred on a damn guitar, brilliant songwriting. So by what they're looking for, Prince, again, he should be number 1 or 2. Instead, they got him at 14. So that goes to show you how stupid they are. But even going by their own guidelines, they're putting people in the wrong places. Tony Iommi, great guitar player. He would be closer. He'd be on the other side of 50 in my book. Johnny Nolan, I got to be honest, never heard his stuff. Carlos Santana, no. He would not be at 11. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. You can't tell me this guy's better than Joe Satriani. You cannot tell me that. You sure as hell can't tell me he's better than Randy Rhoads. Never happened in a million years. Carlos Santana, to me, would be closer to the 150 mark. Duane Allman, Duane's a beast. I don't know if I'd have him at 10. I probably could squeak him into my top 30, but not 10. But Duane Allman is a beast. Number 9, Joni Mitchell. Absolutely not. No way. Never in a million years is Joni Mitchell the 9th best guitar player in the world. Never happened. Not in this universe. Not in some alternate weirdo Rolling Stone universe. Joni Mitchell, honestly, probably wouldn't even be in my top 250. We're talking guitar players here. We're not talking great songs, great vocals. We're talking guitar players. B.B. King, he would be in my top 50, not in my top 10. Nile Rodgers. Nile Rodgers is, this guy's kind of a conundrum, dude. I don't know if, he wouldn't be in my top 10, but it would be hard to get him past over 50, man. Nile Rodgers, man, this dude can play. This dude can play everything, too. It would, yeah, I could easily get him in top 50, but there's no way he'd be in my top 10. Sister Rosetta Tharpe, number 6, absolutely not. I don't care what anybody says. Absolutely not the 6th best guitar player in the world. Jeff Beck, I love Jeff Beck. He's not the 5th best guitar player in the world. He's not close to the 5th best guitar player in the world. I could put him in my top 50, maybe, but that's about it. This is ridiculous. Eddie Van Halen, number 4. Really? Eddie Van Halen's easily a number 3, if not your number 1. You can't argue the fact. The body of work alone is masterful. The bazillion guitar solos this guy laid are masterful. The millions of people he influenced to play guitar are masterful. This guy he's when you think of guitar God, and there again, go with your friends. Let's talk about guitar gods. Eddie Van Halen, if there's 5 people in there, 3 of them are going to say Eddie Van Halen, period. And they got him at number 4. If they put Jimi Hendrix at number 1, dude, I am going to be pissed. Because I do not think Jimi Hendrix is the greatest guitar player of all time. I do not think that by any stretch of the imagination. I think Stevie Ray Vaughan was a much better blues player than Jimi Hendrix. I don't care about his legacy, his legend. We're talking about guitar players. I'm not knocking Jimi Hendrix. Jimi Hendrix is amazing. For what he did, he was a beast. Stevie Ray Vaughan is better. If we're doing this on merit alone, Stevie Ray Vaughan was better. Eddie Van Halen, number 4. Number 3, Jimmy Page, absolutely not. He wouldn't even be in my top 50. We're talking guitar players, not songwriters. Jimmy Page wouldn't even be in my top 50. He wrote some amazing music. And he's got some good guitar solos. But when I think of iconic guitar solos, none of them are Jimmy Page. Absolutely none. Freebird has a better, more iconic guitar solo than probably anything Led Zeppelin has written. If you can think, and I'm using these bands because of the time period. If you can think of a more iconic guitar solo from Led Zeppelin than Freebird, let me know. Because I don't know what it is. Number 2, Chuck Berry, are you kidding me? So Chuck Berry's better than Eddie Van Halen. Didn't even put Gary Moore in the list. This list is an absolute joke. This is an absolute joke at best. Chuck Berry is not the second best playing guitar player in the world. And let me guess, number 1, Jimi Hendrix. Shocker. Shocker. How dare they move him from that number 1 slot that they put him in every single freaking time, or since I've been looking at this stupid ass thing. This is a terrible list. I'm going to wrap this up right there. This is literally the worst guitar list I've ever seen in my life. And they've picked 250 because I guess they had to include everybody because they got to be inclusive. Because if they really cut it down and went by talent and 100, I guess they were afraid they would piss too many people off. But, this list pisses me off because this is a joke of a list. And, you can disagree with me all you want. That's fine. That's why everybody has opinions. And if some of the things I said were a little, well, I'm sorry. This is my opinion. This is how I feel about it. I am a guitarist, and I know music. I know music very well. I know music. And this list is an absolute joke. It's an absolute joke. I maybe agree with 20% of this list. Maybe. The other 80%, it was just stupid. And how could you leave that? Now, they did get Alex Lifeson in here. I did not know that because I haven't really looked at this till just now. I've just kind of shot around it. So they got Alex in there, which thank God, because I'd probably lost my mind had they not. But to not put Zakk Wylde, and we're talking guitar players now. Zakk Wylde. Okay, well, Zakk Wylde, well, he's a pentatonic player. Okay. Well, all these guys are pentatonic players. And if anybody says, well, Zakk Wylde, he just shreds in pentatonic. What do you think Jimi Hendrix does? And he's number 1. Go figure. Gary Moore? Really? Probably, in my opinion, the most melodic guitar player, the 2 most melodic guitar players in this world. Gary Moore. Yeah, Gary Moore, definitely. David Gilmour, without a doubt. Absolutely, without a doubt, David Gilmour. So I'm going to wrap it up right there. This list is absolutely terrible. I hate that the video come out like this. I kind of had some hopes for this one this time. I should have known better because it is Rolling Stone, and they're always way so far left field on everything they do. It's not even funny. So I'm going to wrap it up right there because now I'm just depressed. Now I'm absolutely depressed. I'm losing my faith. I'm losing my faith in what people think is music. On that note, we're going to wrap it up right there. And like the great Sammy Hagar says, if you miss the beat, you lose the rhythm, and nothing falls into place. And for whatever you do in your life, for the love of God, rock on.